I'm very, very, very pleased to welcome our next panel. You guys can all come up onto the stage. Well, I'm just going to introduce our moderator, and he'll take care of introducing you to the panel. Mike Fibus, who writes for CIO Magazine and USA Today, and has a fantastic following and writes a lot about technology in healthcare. So let's give them a warm round of applause and start the program.
Thank you all. Yeah, clearly there's a hot topic of discussion is voice and the potential in care and health and wellness, and of course in aging in place, which is a key reason why these two are together. I have with me Rob Flippo. He's CEO of Mobile Help, and also Stu Patterson. He's CEO of LifePod Solutions. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, thanks for having us here.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, so we'll get into the pie in the sky and all the things that are possible, but let's start with here and now. I mean, merging of voice technology and mobile PERS, personal emergency response system, it seems like a logical next step. It certainly expands, your footprint, I would think, around the home.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So almost our entire customer base is a group of folks who are essentially aging in place. They're older adults who primarily live alone and need the ability to summon help in the event of an emergency. But with that comes a myriad of issues and problems, essentially from being alone, social isolation, and not really being engaged in life in general. And when Stu and I met, the things that LifePod is doing with voice really brings an entirely new layer of interaction now with the kinds of customers that we have in our entire installed base.
Yeah, so LifePod has done two things that are, I think, important to start with, and that we're marrying up with what Rob and Mobile Help has done. And that is, we've taken the voice paradigm, which has really been about virtual assistant capabilities. So it's a single user. It's really me talking to the virtual assistant, whether it's Siri or Alexa or Google Assistant. Doesn't really matter. They all do the same fundamental thing, which is they do things for me that I ask it to do. And by adding this capability to actually have a caregiver set up dialogues that will be had with and initiated by what we call a virtual caregiver, then all of a sudden the voice can be two-way. And in that sense, it can do something as simple as, "Good morning, Carol. How did you sleep last night?" Now, that sounds very simple, but for the people that Rob just referred to who are spending 12 hours a day or 16 hours a day alone in their apartment, suffering potentially from social isolation, the fact that a friendly voice would say, "How did you sleep last night?" and then she says, "I slept great," and then the voice comes back and continues the conversation and says, "That's wonderful, have a great day." Now that seems very prosaic or very simple, but it's incredible the power of this ability for the caregiver to speak, which is why LifePod's tagline is giving voice to caregivers. And what we're doing is combining with Mobile Help's technology the ability to play these dialogues or to have these conversations, automated conversations with these patients or with these elderly people, because it's just as important for connected healthcare in the home along the lines of what was just discussed about customer engagement. It sort of guarantees engagement. And what we're doing is merging that with the sensor capabilities and the Mobile Vitals offering that they have at Mobile Help, and of course the fall detection, the emergency response capabilities, so that we can react appropriately to those dialogues.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that one of the important things is the combination of the two really closes the loop, because one of the things that we hear all the time from our customers, who are often the actual caregivers for somebody aging in place, is they want more feedback on how mom's doing, but they may not be able to call 5 times a day to check in. With the solution that we are building, somebody will be checking in 5 times a day or as many times as you need, and closing the loop by providing data back to the person who's ultimately caring for that person and saying, as in your example, hey, mom woke up today and she felt great. That piece of information can be sent to the caregiver electronically, so that over the course of the day she can see that. Or if something's going in the other direction, get some information that, hey, I need to reach out and give mom a call and make sure everything is going well, and potentially intervene before something bad happens. I mean, our ideal world is people aren't pressing buttons, that we're catching things before they happen, and preventing the need for the emergency response component.
Right. There's no more natural way to call for help than to call for help, right? So is there a different wake word? I mean, I know we're kind of getting in the weeds, but how does it work on what you're building or what you built?
No, currently what we offer is an Alexa Inside speaker. Just like any other Alexa Inside box, if you go to the Alexa booth, there's just down a floor or two, there's probably 50 different versions of speakers and of audio technology that have Alexa Inside. And that is the same on the LifePod unit that we're integrating with Mobile Help. But the difference is that we make that one-way use case into 2 users who can benefit each other, where the caregiver, either it's a family, like a child of an elderly adult who wants to support their parent from a distance and keep track of them, or it's a doctor. And that's really why it's so pleasurable to be here at the 10th anniversary of Digital Health, is that this is going to represent that customer engagement solution. This proactive voice mode is going to represent that customer engagement solution that one of the people who were just up here a minute ago said was really the missing key, which is I can't always get the patient to check their cell phone. I can't get them to put the data in on their cell phone. Well, when you speak to them, they will respond.
Right.
And so you can prompt them, for example, and Rob and I have been talking about this a lot with the advent of these new CPT codes for remote patient monitoring. You're going to be bringing in data monitoring the patients, whether they're elderly or younger, and you're going to be monitoring them, but you need to make sure that you collect that data. Sometimes they might step on a scale. Well, you can remind them now with a LifePod prompt that says, did you take your weight yet? So that we have your weight every day in case you're at risk of congestive heart failure. Or don't forget your appointment with the doctor because we just discharged you from the hospital, and we want to, if you miss that appointment, that could be really, really problematic. So then you can go one step further, and if they say, no, I haven't taken my weight, you could potentially ask them the question verbally and say, well, tell us your weight, we'll take in that data, and we'll feed it into the system that's watching you. So it's really a new, I think it's a revolution in voice. I've been in the voice industry. It's a passion for 20 years, and it's so fun to see virtual assistant become merged with virtual caregiver capabilities.
Yeah, and at Mobile Help, we started off with a really simple premise when it related to voice, and this is a while back now, is that people don't necessarily want to wear a button, right? So using a natural voice interface seemed like a great way to maybe not need to wear a button. What we're doing now with LifePod is like four steps ahead of that. So we're still using that natural voice interface to activate the system, but layering a lot more protections and health management on top of it.
Right. I mean, that was the whole reason that, you know, with Samsung last year, you introduced Mobile Help on the Gear S3 because it looks like a consumer device, not like a sick person button or older person button.
That's exactly right. I think we are in a business that selling products that people don't want, right? You don't want to have to admit that you're in a position where you might even need emergency response. So being able to layer on other services and health management, maybe in the long run, our products are health management products that happen to be able to save your life in the event that you need that component, but maybe it's not the sole reason that we're in your home to begin with.
Right. But Stu, I wanted to push a little bit on, you know, you said it was proactive, but from what you described, it didn't, at least to me, yet sound proactive. It sounded like a more sophisticated reactive, to a schedule I set up of, ask how I'm doing at 9, 11, and 3. Is that, how do we get to, where it's really reacting or being proactive?
Well, thanks for asking, because it's so different that people don't really get the proactive idea until we explain it a little bit more, so I'll do that. What we've done is we've created this capability to sort of ping the smart speaker and say, talk to the user in the room right now. And the way that ping happens, or that sort of message is sent to the smart speaker, is through a menu that the caregiver can access. So the caregiver has a calendaring system, basically, and they say, look, this is for my mother, or they're a professional, and they say, this is for this patient, and I want to set up a check-in in the morning, I want to set up a medication reminder after breakfast, I want to set up a little reminder that's just a friendly service that it's their son's birthday, and maybe offer to connect them with them by telephone. And then I want to set up another medication reminder in the afternoon, and then a healthy habits or behavioral. There was a lot of talk just on the stage here a minute ago about behavioral health. And that's what the physicians and the medical institution we're working with the most right now is saying, is that's where the low-hanging fruit is. I want to remind you to take 2 glasses of water a day. I want to remind you to move out of your wheelchair or to eat healthier. Those kinds of reminders can be very powerful and can really, as I said, collect this. And so those can all be created in this very simple pre-configured web interface by the caregiver. So the caregiver has total control. Of course, they talk to the user, their patient, and say, what other reminders would you like? What we usually do is start with 5 or so of these proactive micro dialogues. And then over the first week or 2, they're asking us to add other things. And we see a lot of room for evolution, like, are you in pain? And if they say yes, then you want to do what every doctor would do, was on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful is it? Or tracking dementia, for example. You might ask them the same 3 questions. One insurance company came to us and said, could you ask them the same 3 questions 3 times a week or 2 times a week, and then track their progression in their dementia, which is reflected by their answers. So does that explain the proactive capability?
Yeah, I think so. You had mentioned sort of a conversation before. So
Yeah.
are there, more decision trees? I mean, how far down do we go here?
Well, we're really excited because right now, the only way to send a message to somebody is to light the red light on their Echo or their Amazon Alexa box. And you can light the red light, but then they have to say, what is it? What do you want from me? So just that ability to speak without being spoken to is really, to me, the first step. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. We're going much farther than that. And the ability to link to, for example, you've got a doctor's appointment in an hour. Don't forget, would you like us to call an Uber ride to meet you at a half an hour, or don't forget to be ready in a half an hour? Is that okay? But I think the other part with mobile help that we're so excited about is just this idea of medication adherence, of behavioral therapy, and of regular check-ins, so that the first message you receive is not the emergency message. It's the, I might need some help with something, or I want to tell somebody that I'm not feeling well, which is a much more refined and powerful level of response. It's really and that's where you're tracking, is their heart rate okay? Are they doing their blood pressure? And is that okay? Is that steady where it should be? And you can pick up much more medically sensitive and valuable information on an ongoing basis.
Well, and I think that to add to that, the micro dialogues that you describe are exchanging information. So there's information going back in both directions, and what you do with that information becomes very proactive. So depending on those responses, what those responses are can trigger a number of things, from a simple notification to somebody that a response was a certain way, but it could be escalated in any one of a number of ways depending on what the questions were.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no question there's great value in that today. I'm just more pushing on where we can go tomorrow. I mean, I've heard of, you know, the voice done the right way can help with loneliness and depression, things like that. I also know, you know, speaking with folks at Microsoft, Amazon, Google, the voice is tricky. It's more intimate, and so there's more reward, but it also a lot of risk if you disappoint, and that's a difficult line to walk.
Yeah, the security and privacy and just the sensitivity part is always a concern for people who are just learning about what we're doing. And it's really it's the essence of what LifePod's trying to do, is to represent the caregiver. And the wonderful part that we found in our trials and beta tests around the country really is that the person who's using it knows that that's the voice is representing either their loved one, like their son or their daughter, or representing their doctor or their nurse's aide who would come to see them once a month or something. And I mean, we literally had someone say, could you switch the prompt so that it says, Brianna wants you to have another drink of water, rather than just get another drink of water? Because I love Brianna. And I'm sure to get a drink of water if she's asking me. And we typed in the name Brianna and that prompt that said, don't forget to have have you had your second glass of water? Brianna wants you to have it. So that personal feeling, I mean, we literally have our users now, after literally a week or two, saying, it's my friend, or it's like my wife who's passed away, and just filling this hole of communicating with me and resolving this. But you asked about what's the future. I think this is the future of caregiving, because it allows you to be there without having to be there physically, and it connects you via sensors and data, and it really we're gonna trial with Boston Medical Center, for example. We're about to trial post-discharge management to see if we can't get people to follow. I think somebody mentioned just on the last panel how many pages of stuff they're given as they walk out after an operation or something. Well, why does that have to be in pages of anything? Why does it even have to be in my smartphone? Right. Why can't it be in my caregiver-controlled schedule that says, don't forget to take this medicine, don't forget about your doctor's appointment, don't forget to do these few things, and how you feeling right now? I want to check up one day after your appointment. And all that can be done so that post-discharge management, diabetes management, CHF tracking, you name it, can all have a care plan that's implemented in this way in a voice natural interface.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I'm excited for the potential. It pains me to say this, but we're out of time. So thank you, gentlemen, and thank you all for listening. I appreciate it.